welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Sorwick here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. Pretty crazy weekend for the NFL. Um, but how you doing this evening, man?
Not too bad. So ready to get this rolling.
Yeah, of course, we're going to get right into the NFL and college football. But first, we're going to talk a little bit of hockey because one of its rising stars finally got a contract. Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings getting a deal done finally. And the rumor was for a while that Sider was close to a deal, and then Raymond was nowhere close to a deal being done. But now the Raymond deal gets done first here, and it's a 8-year $8.075 million a year average contract for this young star. He's 22 years old. He'll be 30 by the time this contract is over. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is a hell of a signing by Steve Yzerman. This contract is going to age out very, very well because he could be potentially a 100-point scorer and only making $8 million a year, which would be absolutely insane to think about. It's insane to think about right now. A 100-point scorer only making $8 million a year. So this contract is going to age very, very, very well for the Red Wings, and I think Steve Yzerman did a really, really good job. And I critique Steve Yzerman a lot. I don't agree with a lot of the things he's done, but this is one of those contracts where I think he's gotten it right. He's gotten a lot of contracts wrong. I think the Cop deal and the Sherratt deal, and hell, even to an extent the DeBrincat deal. But yeah, I like this signing a lot. It's good. It solidify a core player for the next 8 years of his life, and that's all through his prime years as an NHL player. So this contract's going to age beautifully one way or another.
Yeah, you said it. This is, them locking up one of their best players that they have right now. And he's only 22 years old. So the fact that he scored, a career high in goals, 31 goals at 22 years old, and he led the team with 72 points. That's you said great value right there. And again, he already 72-point scorer at 22 years old. He has the potential for 100, If the Wings play better than they did last year, especially down the stretch, and they don't lose games like they're up 5-0 against the Sharks and lose 6-5 in overtime type of deal. He really truly does have the potential to be scoring 100, maybe 110 points, depending on how, the team around him shakes out. But again, at only $8 million, that's like you're paying, the likes of Nikita Kucherov, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, players like that. $8 million a year. That is very, very cheap in, comparison to the rest.
Yeah, it's a great deal for just the perspective of the team. It's a winning deal, and Lucas got paid, and he absolutely deserves this $8 million a year. That's what he's like $8 million is about a 70 to 80 point scorer usually gets in the NHL in this day and age. Obviously, that's going up as well because the salary cap keeps going up every single year, which is obviously a good thing. But yeah, if he's and he has the potential to be a 100+ point scorer. So yeah, it'll be really nice to see him score 100 points in a year, and then only be paying him $8 million a year. So now all that's left to do for Detroit is to sign Sider, and then bring some of the kids up. Like Berggren signed a 1-year deal for Detroit at 8,250,000. So that's really nice. So he's no longer waiver exempt, so he's probably going to be making the team this year now with that deal, and that's kind of like a prove it deal for him. And yeah, he's got potential too to be a very good player in the NHL. I wouldn't say a star, but a very good player. But yeah, um, very good deal for the Red Wings. And yeah, so let's move on now to the NFL, where we had quite the wild weekend. A lot of upsets this week in the NFL, and we'll get right into it here. But so Thursday night we had the Dolphins hosting the Bills. The Bills won 31-10. Scary situation in the game. Obviously, Tua hitting his head on the ground. He obviously has another concussion, his third documented concussion of his career. Um, Look, if I'm Tua, you gotta retire, dude. Like, for your own health and quality of life going forward. You have two kids, you have a wife, you're 26 years old. I understand you want to play football. I get it, but man, your quality of life is just going to keep getting shittier and shittier the longer you keep playing now, because we know the effects of having all these concussions over the years, how they compound. It's so much easier to get another one and another one and another one, and you're on your third documented one. It's time to hang it up, man. I get it's so hard to step away, but man, you got to think about your kids and the life you want to live after football. Um, so yeah. But to the game side here, Josh Allen had another really good game. 13 for 19, 139 yards, touchdown. He was just very efficient. He was good on the ground too. Um, but yeah, the Bills just dominated this game on both sides of the ball. And yeah, they seemingly might be legit this year for some reason. But it is week 2, so I don't want to put too much into that. But so far the Bills look fucking legit this year.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a real scary situation there in Miami with Tua. But I mean, I think you summed it up perfectly. No matter how much he really truly wants to play, he's got to really sit down and think about his life later on. Does he want to, and then, I mean, granted, he's been making a ton of money. Would he rather have that money go to, his medical bills and, keeping him sustained and improving his quality of life, or attempting to? Or would he rather have that, go and support his family and his kids and the like? So, it's a rough decision. And, if I were in his position, I know, like, I wouldn't let it, my ego would take over and be like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good enough to keep playing. But at the end of the day, if I have medical professionals and multiple opinions telling me I need to stop, it might be time to consider. But like you said, for the game side as well, it was a very dominant performance from the Bills. And I mean, even before Tua left, it was pretty much in their favor. I mean, Tua threw 3 picks before he left. So it was already just a bad game for Miami, and him leaving just was the icing on the cake in the worst possible way.
Yeah, I mean, Miami did not look good in this game at all, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And that was their problem last year too. They were a really good, talented team offensively, and the only way they would lose is if the other team just boat raced them, because Miami could score a hell of a lot, and then the defense couldn't do anything. So all you had to do was just outscore Miami, and it wasn't that hard. And now you're seeing it, and like this year, that defense just isn't good still. And yeah, the offense wasn't clicking either, but the Bills' defense, man, what a fucking performance from them. Speaking of good defensive performances, even though this team lost, they put up a great defensive game. The Lions hosting the Bucks, Bucks winning 20-16. If you look at the box score, it's kind of like the Oregon Idaho game in week 1 of college football, where like Oregon dominated and it barely showed up on the scoreboard, and it's the same thing here. The Lions had double almost the total yards of offense than Tampa, and lost 20-16. There's a lot of blame to go around for this Lions loss. I mean, Ben Johnson with horrible play calling. the Bucks lost Vita Vea in the middle of the game, and they decided to just keep trying to throw the ball over and over and over again. When you lose, when I get your game plan was to attack their weak secondary because you can't run it with Vita Vea, but once Vita Vea is out and somehow that Bucks secondary was actually doing a pretty good job of covering the Lions receivers, why were you not running the ball? Not only that, Jared Goff played like very horribly. He was incredibly inefficient. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think it was 11 receptions, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was 19 targets. Yeah, 11 receptions on 19 targets for 119 yards. That was incredibly inefficient for him. And yeah, I just don't get why the Lions weren't running the ball. Aiden Hutchinson had himself 4.5 sacks this game. And this has to be his breakout year. And so far it's looking like that. He's got 5.5 sacks on the season in 2 games. Really great start to the year. And then, yeah, I mean, Jared Goff just looked horrible in this game. Plain and simple, 34 for 55, 307 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns. I mean, what are we doing here? And then a lot of the poor decision making on 3rd and long and 4th, it was stupid. But yeah, and the Bucks didn't even play good on either side of the ball. It's just the red zone offense for the Lions sucked. Ben Johnson's play calling in the red zone was horrific. And then, Jared Goff doing stupid check down passes to not get a first down on a 3rd and long. It was just very mind-boggling, this whole game. Detroit needs to be better. The red zone offense needs to be better.
Yeah, I mean, you're not winning a football game going 1-7 in the red zone, and very clearly, the Lions lost this game. Like you said, they had a hell of a defensive effort. Even outside of Aiden Hutchinson putting up 4.5 sacks, and 3 of them in the first quarter. Outside of that, you had a very well defensive game from this defense. And I mean, it's weird to say, but I mean, outside of, Chris Godwin having 7 receptions for 117 yards and a touchdown, and 41 yards as his long, they had a pretty damn good game. If they could contain Baker Mayfield and his legs a little better, they probably would have won this game. But I mean, they held Tampa to so many 3 points at certain points, or potential 3-point opportunities. And it was just like, this isn't the Lions defense we saw last year. This is a scary looking defense if they can get everything working. So, I mean, like, it's a loss for the Lions at the end of the day. You're going to hope they rebound next week, but I'm liking what I see from the defense. We need to have a better performance from Jared Goff and Ben Johnson if we're going to keep winning games.
I completely agree. And the thing is, too, is like Tampa's offense is good still. Like, the Lions defense just shut that offense down. It's just
Mayfield showed out last week.
Right, and he showed out this week too, really. But
not in the same way.
No, but again, the Lions defense was just so good this week. The offense just blew it. And a lot of that goes on Goff, and a lot of that goes on Ben Johnson. But yeah, that's one of the many upsets from this week. Here's another one. The Ravens hosted the Raiders, and the Ravens lost 23-26. I don't think anyone saw the Ravens being 0-2 to start the year, especially when you have the Raiders in week 2. You would expect them to be at least 1-1 to start the year, right? Wrong. They completely collapsed in this game. Completely collapsed. They were up 9-6 at the half, and then just the Raiders. Fourth quarter, it was 13-20. It was 23-13 with 12 minutes left. Okay, and yet your offense couldn't do anything after every single time the Raiders scored. They just kept stalling and stalling and stalling. Just a piss poor performance, especially in the fourth quarter from that Raiders or not that the Ravens offense. Lamar Jackson 21 for 34, 247 yards and a touchdown and a pick. Derrick Henry leading the way rushing with 84 yards and a touchdown. But you want to talk about some good efficiency though in this game. You had Gardner Minshew 30 for 38, 276 yards and a touchdown. Really good game from him. Just spreading the ball around, just did a really good job. And quite frankly, I'm really surprised about how good this Raiders defense played against Baltimore. Because yeah, you wouldn't expect this Ravens offense to not put up 30 plus points against that defense, but here they are getting held to only 23.
Yeah, this is the game where I thought the Ravens were going to bounce back, and this is where we were going to see, Lamar actually cement himself as a decent passer with Derrick Henry as a complement as a running back. But we kind of really didn't see that. I mean, Derrick Henry ran the ball 18 times, 84 yards, and a touchdown. That's a decent game. I'd like to see him hit over 100 yards on, a, you know, Raiders defense. But again, trying to run the ball on a dude like Max Crosby is kind of asinine at certain points. He's a big dude. He's all over the place. So, I mean, having a piece like that for the Raiders defense definitely helps. But again, they came away 13 points in the fourth quarter, and they were down 23-13. Ravens did not have an answer for that at all. Like, you're telling me you couldn't get into Justin Tucker's field goal range in the fourth quarter. Justin Tucker, the dude who broke the NFL record, you're telling me you couldn't get into his field goal range at all? That's pathetic.
Yeah, pathetic doesn't even begin to describe that. And speaking of pathetic, the Jaguars hosted the Browns, and the Jaguars losing this one. Browns win 18-13. This whole game was embarrassing, really, for both teams, but especially Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence 14 for 30 and 220 yards. Yeah, awful game from him. No touchdowns, no picks, but incredibly inefficient. Etienne rushed for 52 yards and a touchdown on 13 carries. He had a decent game. Deshaun Watson didn't even play very well. He went 22 for 34 and 186 yards. No touchdowns. Yeah, the Browns, they scored one touchdown with Watson on the ground. And that was it. It was just field goal the rest of the game for them. They did get a safety at the end with under 2 minutes to go. But, yeah, embarrassing performance for both these offenses. The defenses, I mean, it wasn't even that the defenses had to play good. It was just these offenses were bad. And I don't think Trevor Lawrence is really worth that hype that he had coming out of college. And definitely isn't worth the money that he's being paid.
I mean, yeah, anytime you see a game where less than 20 plus points is enough to win it's a little bit concerning on the offensive side because it's like there's no way that both defenses are that good. And in this case with the Browns and the Jaguars, both of them have pretty good defenses. Like, they're not, world beaters at all. But, they're halfway decent. But they're not good. They're not that good to where they're going to hold a team under 20 points, consistently. So this is just a testament of really dog shit offense. Jaguars are at home. You only scored 13 points. And you gave up a safety in the fourth quarter with less than 2 minutes. That is not a good look whatsoever. You lost to Deshaun Watson and the Browns, no less, who just got absolutely embarrassed by the Cowboys.
And the Cowboys got absolutely embarrassed this week, but more on that in a bit. But yeah, no, I mean, it was just an awful display of offense from both teams, but especially Jacksonville, man. Trevor Lawrence, man. Boy, am I glad that when it was his draft that we didn't end up drafting him first overall, and we ended up taking, who was it? Hutch? No, not Hutch. I don't know. Either way, I'm just glad we don't have him as our quarterback. Titans hosted the Jets. Jets winning this one here, 24-17. it was a pretty decent game. From Aaron Rodgers, 18 for 30, 176 yards, 2 touchdowns. Um, and Will Levis had an okay game, thrown for 192 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Um, and the Jets defense did their job. They granted they weren't playing a good offense by any means, especially at the quarterback position. But we know this Jets defense is good, and they did a good job in this game. The offense has not question marks. I wouldn't necessarily say, but there's some things that they're just lacking. I think a little bit. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is getting up there in age, so that doesn't help. But no, the Jets looked very, very calm in this game. And Rodgers looked comfortable back there, and that's obviously very, very important. So, but yeah, Jets get a nice win here. They're 1-1 now on the season, and the Titans fall to 0-2.
Yeah, good win for the Jets here. First win of the Aaron Rodgers era, obviously. It's something that you really wanted to see if you're a Jets fan. And to get it into this kind of performance, I mean, he threw 12 incompletions, but, he's coming off an Achilles injury with his age. So again, having 12 incompletions it's not the worst thing in the world. And I mean, getting sacked 2 times is... I'm going to throw it up to more lack of immobility or rather lack of mobility because, coming off the Achilles. But again, Breece Hall had a pretty decent game overall, outside, just 14 carries, 62 yards. So not really a great day on the ground, but when you pair in the 7 receptions with 52 yards and a touchdown, pretty damn good game from him. So it's something that, it's encouraging to see as a Jets fan, You get to finally see this offense that you've been waiting to see. And you already knew you had a good defense out there with Sauce Gardner and them. But great game from them overall. But at the other end, it's not a terrible game from the Titans either. I mean, you'd like to see Will Levis clean up some of these turnovers and whatnot, losing a fumble and throwing a pick. But at the end of the day, they only lost by 7 points, so close game.
Yeah, it was a lot closer of a game than I would have imagined. I thought probably Jets by 2 scores. But yeah, no, I mean Titans put up a decent fight. Their defense actually looked really good, but just wasn't good enough. And obviously, when your offense isn't good, it's gonna be hard to win games when you can't score a whole lot. But anyways, moving on here, Minnesota hosting San Francisco. The Vikings getting the win here, 23-17, and that streak since 1989 of the Niners not winning in Minnesota stays going. Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily a good game from Minnesota offensively. The defense did an incredible job holding the Niners only to 17 points, despite the Niners having 399 yards of total offense. Both teams had 2 turnovers, and I just it was just a good game for Minnesota's defense, really. Sam Darnold had himself a pretty decent game, 17 for 26, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he threw that pick. And then Brock Purdy, 28 for 36, 319 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, and he also threw a pick because, he's a rat. Of course he's going to throw a pick. But yeah, it's just crazy to me that, San Francisco lost this game. I mean, they had a really good game offensively. It's just they took a lot of sacks in this game. And you don't expect that a whole lot with that front that the Niners have. I mean, they're not the best front in the league, but they're a top 10 offensive front. But man, you gotta do a little bit better job protecting your quarterback there. And the defense did good, but again, not good enough in this game. You made Sam Darnold actually look like a good quarterback, and who would have ever thought those words would come out of my fucking mouth? but they did. And yeah, Justin Jefferson had himself a hell of a game, and absolutely, 4 receptions, 133 yards, and a touchdown, man. I mean, he's the best receiver in football for a reason, man. But yeah, Sam Darnold looks like a competent quarterback. I don't think this is gonna last though. I've seen a lot of things. Oh, the Vikings might be legit. I don't know. I think they're just off to a hot start. Wait till a couple weeks go by in the season. Let's calm down on that.
Yeah, I mean, when you have stars on offense like Justin Jefferson, you're going to have a really, really good time. And I mean, this defense for Minnesota so far is playing phenomenal. I mean, they had 6 sacks this game. So anytime you sack an opposing quarterback 6 times and you get a pick and you recover a fumble, or you recovered 2 fumbles, one was your own, but still, you had a hell of a performance defensively. So, and that they earned this win at home. And I mean, Justin Jefferson, 4 receptions, 133 yards, but you got to consider 97 of them and that touchdown came on 1 reception. So between 3 other receptions, he had about 40 yards. I'd like to see more from that, but again, Sam Darnold is your quarterback, so I understand. But working your ass off for a 97-yard touchdown, it's a hell of an effort. And like you said, considered the best receiver in the league right now for a reason, and that's why.
Yeah, I mean, he is the best receiver in football. Period. But yeah, he's making Sam Darnold look good statistically, and I mean that's all you can really ask for. But I don't think this is gonna last long for Minnesota. Um, I don't believe in it. But man, that defense looks fucking good, man. Um, the Chargers, they went into Carolina and they come out big winners here, 26-3, over the Panthers. Um, Bryce Young is he's benched this week, so Andy Dalton will be starting this week for Carolina. So that tells you everything you need to know about Bryce Young. Yeah, 18 for 26, 84 yards and a pick, no touchdowns. He looked absolutely god awful in this game. And the meme about short quarterbacks lives on because he just can't see his receivers or something, man. It was just an awful performance. But on the flip side, Justin Herbert, 14 for 20, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. J.K. Dobbins, though, what a fucking game from him. 17 carries, 131 yards and a touchdown. Getting it fucking done on the ground. The Jim Harbaugh way. Joe Alt was doing incredible things as a rookie left tackle, man. Harbaugh and Minter got this team to 2-0 already to start the year as in the Harbaugh era. It feels good, to see that. I know Mike's happy about this start to the season for sure, but you'd like to see more attempts from Justin Herbert, but this is Jim Harbaugh's offense. You're not going to be throwing the ball a whole lot, but Justin Herbert, super efficient in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert only had the 6 incompletions. Granted, he only threw for 130 yards, but when you're rushing the ball 44 times and J.K. Dobbins is running for 7.7 yards per carry, you're gonna feed him the rock. Like, it's just inevitable. But at the end of the day, I mean, this Carolina team is not good. And, Bryce Young we know now has been benched. Andy Dalton's coming back. He's played for the Saints most recently. Let's see how he does. And I mean, granted, he's being thrown into a shit show of a situation. So it's not looking good for Carolina. And I think I'm already on 0-17 watch for Carolina at this point. It's just not good for them. But on the flip side, Chargers 2-0 starts at the Harbaugh era. It's looking pretty damn good over there.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good, and I'm already on 0-17 watch for Carolina as well because Bryce Young ain't it. But maybe Andy Dalton will get you a win here. Maybe actually show Bryce Young how to actually play the quarterback position. The first step to being a good quarterback is not be a midget. Might help. Anyways, the Patriots hosted the Seahawks. The Patriots winning here the Seahawks winning here. My bad. 23-20 in overtime on a field goal. The Patriots defense, man, they might be legit. They might actually be legit. I know it is week 2, so we gotta, it's just like week 1 in a way where it's just like, okay, you start getting a feel for a team after 3-4 games, but this Patriots defense might be legit. Now the offense, probably not, but taking Seattle in a game where you almost actually won this game. You were up 20-17 with less than a minute to go, but eventually, 38-yard field goal to send this game into overtime. Geno Smith, decent day, 33 for 44, 327 yards and a touchdown. I say decent because, he wasn't the most efficient, but he was still efficient enough. Obviously 327 yards, but you would have expected a lot more out of that Seattle offense in this game, especially over the Patriots. But the New England defense might be legit, man.
Yeah, you said it best. This game went into overtime, and a lot of credit goes to that New England defense. Even the post-Belichick era, there's still a scary good defense. And it's like, what do we got to do to see the Patriots have a bad defense now, man? But again, Seattle with the win in overtime in this one. DK Metcalf had a halfway decent game, 10 receptions, 129 yards, and a touchdown. So it's good to see him actually get production and actually, produce to what we've seen him do. But if you're Seattle, you have a 2-0 start to the season. But you want to clean this up. You want to have a better win. That Patriots defense, you got to give them credit.
Absolutely.
Like you said, Seattle has to win this game more comfortably and out of overtime.
I completely agree. And yeah, you have to give credit to that New England defense, man. I know Seattle's offense isn't necessarily that great. It's not nearly what it was a few years ago, but it's still decent enough to get by. But good performance defensively from New England. From one good defensive performance to one really bad one for one specific team. Cowboys hosting the Saints. Saints with a huge win here, 44-19. Really good defensive performance from the Saints, and a very embarrassing performance from the Cowboys offense. Dak Prescott, 27 for 39, just shy of 300 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks in this one. And, Derek Carr, 11 for 16, 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is incredibly efficient from Derek Carr. He also did throw a pick, but, man, he's looking almost like what he was hyped up to be. I'm not saying he's going to be where he is or hyped up to be, but he's looking really good so far this year. Big games from him in the first 2 weeks. But Kamara for the Saints, incredible game. 20 carries, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. Just all around good game from New Orleans. Offense was just clicking all game long. And the defense shutting down Dallas, who looked really good in week 1 offensively against a pretty good Browns defense. The Saints, we weren't expecting them to be, anything too special this year. But, man, offensively they've looked good, and defensively. Now, granted, week 1 was, a little different, but when you stop a good-looking Cowboys offense to only 19 points, you're doing something right defensively. And then, again, like I said, the offense looks incredible so far.
Yeah, the Saints are looking right now like the best offense in the league. And anytime you go into Jerry World and you beat the brakes off of the Cowboys, it's a really great feeling. We've all know what the Cowboys have been doing the past few years at home, averaging like 40 points a game or something like that. So anytime you see the script flipped on them is
just a really good feeling. So, but again, it's you got to give the Saints team credit, starting 2-0, and Derek Carr is only throwing the ball 16 times, and he's averaging 15.2 yards a throw. So they're averaging, a first down and a half per completion with Derek Carr. And, with the complement of Alvin Kamara, 3 touchdowns on the ground and 1 through the air, he's not only working wonders on my fantasy team, he's working wonders for the Saints, in real life. So if you can keep it up, and this man might be in the running for MVP at the end of the season as a running back.
Yeah, well, we all know the MVP has to go to a quarterback, though, so it's not going to happen. But anyways, the Commanders hosted the Giants. The Commanders getting a W here, 21-18. Plain and simple, Daniel Jones sucks. that's all I can fucking say about this game for the Giants. Daniel Jones sucks. Jane Daniels had a pretty good game, though, 23 for 29, 226 yards. No touchdowns in the air, but overall a good game from the Commanders. No touchdowns scored for them, though, at all. They scored 21 points on field goals. Don't know how that really works in the NFL, how you can score, 7 field goals and still win a game, but I guess when your competition is Daniel Jones, anything's possible.
I mean, yeah, this is not a good look for the Giants whatsoever. I mean, we all knew they weren't going to be the greatest team, but you scored 3 touchdowns, and you lost to a team that did not score a touchdown, period. That is terrible. I mean, Malik Neighbors was the bright side for this, New York offense, and that's exactly what we knew he was going to be. He is going to be the lone bright spot in a very, very, very dark season for the Giants, especially if they keep putting up performances like this.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The Giants scored 3 touchdowns, didn't make a single, point after try. And then the Commanders didn't even score a single touchdown, and they win the game. It's such a goofy-ass game. Like this wasn't even like watching football. This was like watching, like, backyard football. It was just embarrassing from both teams, realistically. But yeah, Daniel Jones is garbage and should not be employed, and he should be flipping burgers. The Packers hosted the Colts, and the Packers getting a surprising upset win here, 16-10. Anthony Richardson looked awful in this game. 17 for 34, 204 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Just imagine what he could do if he was smart with the ball. I'm not a big Anthony Richardson fan. I haven't been a fan of his. I thought he was overhyped because he had a good combine. And, he looked good last week, but he also had a lot of stupid moments last week. And then this week, he didn't look good at all, and he had a lot more stupid moments this week. The Packers defense played well. I mean, obviously getting 3 picks is doing a damn good job. Got to give credit to Malik Willis getting thrown into a tough situation here. 12 for 14, though, and 122 yards and a touchdown. Jerry Jacobs, though, man. 32 touches, 151 yards. No touchdowns to pay him for, though, with that sort of an effort. But, we knew the Packers were going to, run the ball all game long. And they did a good job at it, and the Colts actually did a really good job defensively. But, again, when your offense, and especially your quarterback, is playing like fucking morons, you're going to fucking, lose games because you can't score points. And, rushing, I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a pretty good game for the Colts, 12 carries, 103 yards. He had a good game, no touchdowns either, but, Anthony Richardson needs to be smarter with the football.
Yeah, I think this game boiled down to Anthony Richardson, he threw 3 picks, and that's 3 possessions that you had potential to get more than 6 points. So I think if he's, a little smarter with the ball, the Colts walk away with the win in this one. But, hell of a performance by the Packers defense and Josh Jacobs, even though he didn't, score. You don't want to see him fumble, like deep in the red zone like he did. But at the end of the day, Packers escape with the win.
and a win is a win.
Yeah, a win is a win is a win, bud. Anyways, Arizona hosted the Rams. Arizona winning here 41-10. And when we do previews on Thursday, I'm gonna have some points to make about this Arizona offense. And their defense for that matter. Holding this Rams offense to 10 points was pretty impressive. And they did a good job shutting down Matthew Stafford, 19 for 27, 216 yards, no touchdowns. Blake Corum led the way in rushing for the Rams, 8 carries, only 28 yards though. This Arizona defense just smothered everything that the Rams did, and it showed on the scoreboard. And Kyler Murray had himself a pretty decent game, but you're gonna have a pretty decent game when you got the best, potentially the best wide receiver in football. I mean, I'd still say Justin Jefferson is right now, but Maserati Marv is right fucking there, man. 4 receptions, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns from this man. He was invisible last week, but boy, was he visible this week.
Yeah, this was the game. I mean, he had a hell of a performance, like you just said. Marvin Harrison Jr. 2 touchdowns in the first half. Amazing from this kid. I mean, he's got Kyler Murray as his quarterback. We knew he was decent. He's capable. But I mean, this Rams team is just absolutely depleted. It's only the second game in the season, and they're just decimated on the depth chart. It's not a good situation. And I mean, this is a game where it just shows.
Yeah, it really does show. I mean, the Rams are injured in basically every fucking position except for quarterback. That like seriously, it's like they have second stringers in at almost every single position on both sides of the ball. It is really, really bad for the Rams so far to start the year, and it's only going to get worse, I think, for them because guys might come back, but then they might get re-injured, and not a good situation for the Rams, but Maserati Marv through obviously last week was invisible. This week though, he was out there and he balled out. The Broncos hosted the Steelers. Steelers getting the win here, 13-6. Bo Nix again. He looked better this week, but he still looked bad. 20 for 35, 246 yards and 2 picks from him. He also led the team for rushing with 4 carries on 25 yards. But yeah, I mean, Justin Fields had a pretty decent game, 13 for 20, 117 yards and a touchdown. Najee Harris, 17 carries, 69 yards, nice on the ground from him. I mean, look, this was an embarrassing game from both teams, realistically. Again, I think it's going to take time for Bo Nix. He looked better this week, but he still looked bad. If he did improve, just not nearly as much as a lot of Denver fans would hope. But yeah, I mean, honestly, it was just an embarrassing performance from both these teams offensively, and it wasn't. Again, it was kind of like the defenses didn't even have to play that well. It's just the offenses didn't look good.
Yeah, I mean, I said it's not a good look for the NFL for the Browns and the Jags. When you only win by 18 points, but when you win a game 13-6, it's just, where's the offense in this? I mean, I give Bo Nix a little bit of slack. He's playing in Denver as a rookie quarterback, so there's obviously a little bit of leeway you can give him. But I mean, again, this is another game where the Steelers come out with the win, and they're gonna crawl themselves across the 500 mark for Mike Tomlin yet again.
Yeah, it's getting kind of silly with that sort of shit, but yeah, I mean, a win's a win, but not in a good kind of way. The Chiefs hosted the Bengals. Chiefs winning 26-25. A lot closer of a game than I thought it would be. I thought maybe Chiefs by 3 or 4. But yeah, it came down to a 51-yard field goal. That's what won the game. That's what won the game for the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes did not have the best game of his career. I mean, 18 for 25, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Joe Burrow was good. 23 for 36, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defensively, the Bengals looked really, really good. Obviously, when you make Mahomes throw even just one pick, that's a good defensive performance when you're playing the Chiefs' offense. But when you get two, that's a game you should probably win, and they damn near did. But yeah, Harrison Butker with a 51-yard field goal to end the game and get the Chiefs to 2-0 to start the year. The Bengals did this to themselves. It was a game they should have won very easily. They just had an overall better game than the Chiefs. They had 34 more yards of total offense, but you had 2 more turnovers than Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes. Man, that is incredible. That is a gift from God, and you pissed it away.
Yeah, I mean, anytime your defense holds Patrick Mahomes to 151 yards passing and 2 picks, and they sack him twice, like, that's right there. It's just like, that just tells me the Bengals should have won this game by, more than a score. They lost by 1. They found a way to do it yet again. I mean, Joe Burrow started his career 3-0 against Mahomes, and since he's 0-2. So, got to find ways to win games now. And right now, if you're Cincinnati, they're not doing it. And I mean, I get they don't have T. Higgins right now, but Jamar Chase, only 4 receptions for 35 yards, and he's only being targeted 5 times. Got to get him going. And I mean, you had 22 attempts on the ground for 74 yards. You got to get a run game going, too. You got to find a way to get the O-line established if you're Cincinnati.
Yeah, when obviously Higgins is out, but Jamar Chase, 35 yards on 4 receptions.
It's fucking embarrassing!
It really, really is. I just...
Talking up to be the best receiver in the league.
Right. Prove it. Anyways, Houston hosted Chicago on Sunday Night Football. Houston getting the win 19-13. This was a game where it was all about defense. Both teams had great defensive performances. C.J. Stroud, 23 for 36, 260 yards, a touchdown. No picks. Caleb Williams, though, yikes. 23 for 37, 174 yards, 2 picks, no touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, look, the Bears defense did a really good job of containing C.J. Stroud. Yes, he did light him up for, over 250 yards. But yeah, the Texans defense did a really good job too. And we know this Bears offense was not going to be that good, but the Texans defense still played a really good game. But got to give credit to that Bears defense in this one. They did force 2 fumbles in this game, but obviously it's not enough. When your offense can't do anything and you have an overrated quarterback. Sorry. Houston getting a nice win here. You wanted to see more out of that, offense, but this Bears defense is legit, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's really looking like these NFC North teams have some pretty baller defenses so far to start the season. I mean, Chicago with their performance, week 1, and even now holding Houston and their high-flying offense to, under 20 points it's a feat. Yes, they lost this game, but, they have a rookie quarterback. This offense is not good. Historically, the Bears have not had a 4,000-yard passer in their franchise. As of right now, Caleb Williams will not do it, especially if he keeps throwing 2 picks a game. He got sacked 7 times this game. This game was all defense. It just dominance on that defensive end. And Houston escaped with the win. And I mean, I think it came down to the fact, Caleb Williams threw 2 picks. C.J. Stroud threw a touchdown and no picks.
Yeah, and it really does boil down to that. Because, yeah, I mean, Houston obviously fumbled the ball twice, I should say. But, it was a good defensive performance from both teams. But Offensively, yeah, the Bears, man. The Bears offense,
It's fucking embarrassing!
you know. And then also, speaking of fucking embarrassing, last night, Eagles hosting the Falcons. Falcons winning 22-21 in a game where the Eagles should have won. You're up 21-15 with a minute 39 left in the game, and that defense completely collapsed in this game. It yeah, Kirk Cousins actually played a really, really good game. 20 for 29, 241 yards, 2 touchdowns in this game. Really, really good game from Cousins, considering how he played last week. He looked a lot more comfortable this week than he did last week, and I'm talking a lot more. But yeah, no, this was a complete collapse from the Eagles defense, just from even how they performed a week ago. But in the second half alone, man, the Eagles defense just completely shit itself. And it was, yeah, just embarrassing. But the fourth quarter defense, especially in those last 2 minutes, man, you gotta figure something out, because you can't let that sort of shit happen. Eagles should have won this game, but yeah, the Falcons get the win, and yeah, the rest is history there. Embarrassing performance though from the Eagles defensively.
Yeah, I mean, granted they got the ball back late in the fourth quarter for the Eagles, but Jalen Hurts threw a pick, and I mean it was a hell of a read by Jesse Bates. That was just a beautiful pick, and I mean, like if you watch, have you seen the replay of it?
Yeah, yeah.
He all day. That was a pick as soon as it left his hands. That man tracked that ball perfectly. He just standard defense right there.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
That sealed the game. So, who knows? Maybe if Jalen Hurts gets that ball to hit the ground instead, they have another chance and they can go down and kick a game-winning field goal. Because I mean, Jake Elliott's got a hell of a leg out there. I mean, we know he can kick some fucking just bombs out there. He can kick 60-yard field goals, pretty respectfully. So they know they could do it. They just had to get in the range to do it. And again, like the Ravens, they have a hell of a kicker. You can't get into their range. Nope, your quarterback threw a pick. So again, comes down to a quarterback threw a pick where another one didn't. So and yeah, hell of a performance from Kirk Cousins. If this is the offense that Atlanta's gonna have, that's gonna be crazy. I mean, granted, I personally would still like to see Kyle Pitts involved more. They used a good pick for him. He's a very touted target, I would say. He's not being utilized. 4 targets, 3 receptions, and 20 yards. He's averaging 6.7 yards a reception. So you could target him more. But, I mean, when you have, Drake London having the game he was, Darnell Mooney having the game he was, 3 receptions, 88 yards, a touchdown with a long 41 yards. It's going to be hard to get your tight end involved, especially when Bijan Robinson, is rushing the ball 14 times for 97 yards. So it's going to be tough. But Atlanta's offense, if they can put more points on the board, they might be really good.
Yeah, and if Kirk Cousins can keep getting more and more comfortable each week on his ankle, man, yeah, the offense is only going to get better for Atlanta. Because, again, they didn't look good last week, but they look good this week. And Kirk Cousins looked a lot more comfortable this week than he did last week. He doesn't look still 100% him, but if he can keep getting better and better each week, yeah, Atlanta, might be actually in the fight this year. So moving on now to college football, and we're already getting pretty deep into this episode. So I'm just going to try to roll through these as quick as we possibly can, get a couple points each from each of us, and then go on to the next because we're already almost an hour in. So let's get right into it. Number 17, Michigan hosted Arkansas State. Michigan wins 28-18. Yeah, not a good game from Michigan. Davis Warren, 11 for 14, 122 yards, but 3 picks. Yeah, not good against this Arkansas State defense. Khalil Mullings had a hell of a game, 15 carries, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns. But yeah, no, Michigan's defense didn't look all too good. The offense really did not look too inspiring either against a very bad Arkansas State defense. And yeah, Michigan gets the win. They dropped down a spot in the rankings, deservingly so, though, for it.
Yeah, I mean, you're a top 25 team at home. The Big House is one of the hardest places to play. Obviously, it's going to be tough to score points when your quarterback is throwing 3 picks. But, give that Arkansas State defense credit, I guess. Picking off him, Warren 3 times is a hell of a job there. But, I mean, if you're Michigan, you want to put up more than 28 points, and you want to win by more than 10 in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Wisconsin hosted number 4 Alabama. Bama winning 42-10 here. This was a game I thought Wisconsin would keep it within 2 scores. Boy, was I wrong. Wisconsin's defense looked like ass. Bama's offense didn't even look good. It was just, yeah, the Wisconsin defense looked like ass. Van Dyke went down for Wisconsin, which I think really, really hurt that the offensive performance and probably why this game wasn't as close as it probably could have been. But yeah, Braden Locke came in and he had an okay game, 13 for 26, 125 yards. When you're tossed into as a backup in this sort of offense, especially where it's air raid, yeah, it's going to be tough. But hopefully Van Dyke's going to be back next week for Wisconsin. But no, Bama looked good in this one.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you. I thought Wisconsin was going to keep it a little closer than 32 points. But at the end of the day, Bama got the win. I mean, Jalen Miller always responsible for 3 touchdowns through the air and 2 on the ground. So really good game from him.
Yeah, really, really good game from him. Tulsa hosted number 13 Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State, big win here, 45-10. Not a whole lot to talk about. Oklahoma State, we know they're good. Tulsa's dog shit. But Bowman, hell of a game from him. 24 for 31, 396 yards, 5 touchdowns and a pick. I mean, what can you say, man? He's good. He's no Cam Ward, but he's good.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a quarterback throw for 5 touchdowns, it's going to be a hell of a performance. But you have almost 400 yards on top of that, and you get the win by 35 points as the away team. That's a hell of a performance.
And again, it's an away team against a really bad, group of 5 team, but still, I mean, it's something. So yeah. South Carolina hosted number 16 LSU. LSU barely getting the win here, 36-33. In a game that, South Carolina lost this game. They should have won this game. They were dominating LSU, and ultimately they just lost the game with letting LSU score with a minute left, and look, LSU, they're overrated as hell on both sides of the ball. But yeah, this was a game that LSU probably should have lost. They get the win, but it was an ugly, ugly win.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina really put it to them. LSU, it's looking really shaky for them. But, I mean, a win is a win.
Yeah, Brian Kelly, the Brian Kelly era has not been the greatest for LSU. So, number 6, Missouri hosted number 24, Boston College. Missouri getting the win here, 27-21. It wasn't the performance that we were expecting out of Missouri, especially with that offense that they have. Boston College's defense might be fucking legit, though, the way they played. But yeah, no, Mizzou getting the win here. It was a good game for Mizzou. It wasn't their best on the offensive side. Defensively, they looked good. Getting 2 interceptions in this game, and that's really, I think, what ultimately won this game for Mizzou was the defense stood up when they needed to, and Boston College is actually pretty fucking good this year. They're not an elite team, but they're pretty fucking good this year.
Yeah, I mean, give Boston College credit. They put took a top 10 team and put them on the ropes. This was a hell of a performance by them. And like you said, if Missouri didn't have the 2 picks for them, it might have gone Boston College's way. And who knows, Boston College might be in the running for the ACC at the end of the year. But this is a good loss if you're Boston College, in my opinion. And it's an okay win for Mizzou. You beat a ranked team. It was closer than I would have liked, but a win is a win. You're 3-0.
Yeah, you're 3-0 through non-conference play, and one of those teams is a ranked team. I mean, that's a good start to the year. That builds the resume for sure. Oregon State hosted number 9 Oregon. This was a game where I called an upset win because of Oregon's performances in the first 2 weeks, but the offense showed up for Oregon. Oregon winning 49-14. Just dominant game. Dylan Gabriel, 20 for 24, 291 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hell of a game from him. And Jordan James, too. Good game on the ground from him with 12 carries, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns as well. Yeah, rivalry game that I thought Oregon State could win just because the way Oregon was playing in the first 2 weeks was not inspiring me at all. But, yeah, they did a really, really good job.
Yeah, I mean, this is the performance we expected from Oregon to start the year, right? For the past couple weeks. But to do it in a rivalry game at Oregon State, no less, good for them.
Yeah, plain and simple, just good for them. I mean, in a rivalry game, on the road, yeah, that's a good performance. Number 15, Oklahoma hosted Tulane. This was one where I thought Tulane might, show that Oklahoma's overrated. Nope, I was proven wrong here. Oklahoma winning 34-19. Tulane down to 1-2 to start the year. Granted, 2 games in a row against ranked opponents. I don't think that they're in that running for the group of 5 spot anymore. With 2 losses, but anything's still possible for them. But it was not even necessarily a great game from Oklahoma offensively. Just Tulane's defense just did not show up. So yeah, I mean Oklahoma, Jackson Arnold, he went 18 for 29, 169 yards, a touchdown and a pick. And he had 2 rushing touchdowns, so he had a really good game overall. Maybe not through the air, but overall, good game, especially on the ground though. 97 yards rushing as a quarterback. That's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I was riding the hype of the Green Wave a little bit too, but I mean, it's a 15-point loss at the end of the day to a ranked, no shock, funnily enough, number 15 Oklahoma. But Jackson Arnold, really good game overall. Great game on the ground with his legs, 2 touchdowns, 97 yards, 14 carries. That's really good.
Yeah,
It's not the end of the world for Tulane, but Oklahoma might not be as bad as we thought. And I mean, when we were doing the over-unders, they were put at like 5 wins, something like that. So I mean, they're already at 3.
Yeah, they're looking good so far, but wait till they get to SEC play. Anyways, Purdue hosted number 18 Notre Dame. Notre Dame beating the brakes off Purdue after a completely embarrassing loss to Northern Illinois last week. The Irish win 66-7. All I'm gonna say is Purdue belongs in the MAC. They belong in the MAC so bad. No, I mean, look, yeah, Notre Dame, like I said, beat the fucking brakes off of them. And Riley Leonard didn't even have a good game. He went 11 for 16 and 112 yards. That was it. The defense did some scoring. Yeah, just embarrassing for Purdue. They belong in the MAC.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good bounce-back win for Notre Dame from the embarrassing performance against NIU. I mean, yeah, you said it. I mean, it's not an impressive performance overall. As a team, they had 216 yards passing. But, I mean, Riley Leonard had 11 attempts and 112 yards. And I'm assuming their backup had 6 attempts, or 6 completions, and 100 yards. So, maybe it's time to sit Riley Leonard.
Yeah, I think it might be. Utah State hosted Utah, number 12 Utah, and for a minute I thought Utah might have been cooked. Utah State was up 14-3 early in the second quarter, and then Utah just dominated from there. They ended up winning 38-21 on a pretty big comeback win. Wilson had a good game for Utah. Cam Rising is supposed to be back this week, though, so that's a good sign that his injury isn't serious. And we might see Utah be just absolutely brilliant again now that they have their starting quarterback. But yeah, no, I mean, good comeback win for Utah. To be down, I mean, obviously it was still early enough in the game where, they had enough time to come back, but still a good, okay, we're down 14-3. Let's fucking buckle down, and they did.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that Utah can make these kind of wins and these kind of comebacks even without Cam Rising. I mean, it's just a testament to how deep this team is and how well they're willing to play and perform. So again, they're 3-0 and they're on the brink of being a top 10 team. So they're looking like they might be a lock for the playoffs as of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it shows you just how, if they were healthy last year, because they had so many injuries at so many different position groups last year, just shows you how deep that team really is and how good they could have been last year had they had been healthy. Nothing really to note here in this game because it was just embarrassing for the loser. Number 10 Miami hosting Ball State. Miami winning 62-0. Like I said, Ball State's one of the worst teams in the MAC, if not the worst team in the MAC. Cam Ward had himself a hell of a game. And yeah, just nothing really noteworthy about because yeah, I can't take anything out of a game like this.
I mean, yeah, it was 62-0. That's about all you can say. Cam Ward continuing his Heisman run right now. I mean, but somehow, some way, this was not the worst loss.
No, it wasn't the worst loss of the weekend. Because yeah, two very shitty MAC schools lost this weekend. But we'll get into that here in a second. But Wake Forest hosted number 5 Ole Miss. Ole Miss winning 40-6. Jackson Dart, on his way to trying to win the Heisman. 26 for 34, 377 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But Henry Parrish Jr., really good game on the ground. 22 carries, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns. 22 carries is unheard of with a Lane Kiffin offense because he fucking hates running the ball. But I'm surprised he ran the ball 22 times. So, good win for Ole Miss. Wake Forest sucks, and Jackson Dart is trying to win himself a Heisman. It's games like this one where it helps.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that you say that he doesn't rush that much, but they had 45 rushing attempts, or carries, in this game. And they had 34 pass attempts. So they had 11 more carries this game. But, I mean, when you're having a game like Henry Parrish Jr. is, you're going to feed him the rock. That's just a testament, for running backs. You pick up yardage, you are going to get fed the ball. And, again, when you have a quarterback like Jackson Dart who can throw the ball and complete it 26 times for 377 yards, averaging more than a first down per completion. That's a hell of a performance,
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason I brought up that because Lane Kiffin doesn't rush the ball a whole lot, it's why Judkins left to go to Ohio State, because he wasn't getting nearly as many rushes as he would have liked, like he is at Ohio State this year. And now, 45 rushing attempts from Ole Miss. Judkins is pissed off. I guarantee you that one. Number 2, Texas hosted UTSA. Texas winning 56-7. Quinn Ewers might be in the Heisman talks this year. He might be in New York this year for the Heisman ceremony. He's just looking incredible so far through 3 weeks. And, yeah, Texas looks absolutely fucking legit. And, honestly, with the way Georgia looked this week, Georgia might be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an ideal situation if you're Texas. I mean, you had to have Arch Manning step in, but what a hell of a performance from Arch Manning in Quinn Ewers' place. I mean, only 12 attempts, but 9 completions for 223 yards, averaging 18.6 yards per completion, with 4 touchdowns and no picks. That's about as good as a performance you can ask from Arch Manning coming into this. Coming into this situation.
Yeah, no, he went above and beyond. Look, and I've seen a lot of things like, oh yeah, Arch Manning has to be the starting QB from here on out. He's not going to be. When Ewers gets back, he's going to be the starting QB. Enough said about that. But just a big shout out, Ryan Wingo, man, what a fucking day from him. 3 receptions, 127 yards. 127 yards on 3 receptions.
Damn, that's that Randy Moss stat line.
Right. And a touchdown in this game.
He didn't get 3 touchdowns, but I mean that's
yes, yeah, damn good game. Kentucky hosted number 1 Georgia. Georgia barely getting the win here, 13-12. It was the first road game for Georgia this season, conference play. And yeah, Kentucky actually, they had more total offense than Georgia, and they converted 23 first downs to Georgia's 12. This was a game, and Kentucky had possession for 35 minutes of this game, and they still lost just barely. Carson Beck looked horrible in this game, 15 for 24, 160 yards. Travis Etienne didn't look good, 19 carries, 79 yards, no touchdowns scored for him. Excuse me. But yeah, if Kentucky was able to score just 1 touchdown on any of those drives that they had, because they only scored field goals in this game, they win this game. Kentucky played a pretty good game, and by that I mean they played a good game defensively. Offensively, they didn't look all too great, especially in the red zone. Lions, Kentucky, they might be the same team. This was an embarrassing win for Georgia, and I still. They rightfully dropped down to number 2 after this performance.
Yeah, I mean, this is just chalk it up to yet another ranked team that has suffered an upset scare this early into the season, and shockingly it was Georgia this time. I mean, almost every single ranked team to date this year has had an upset scare or has had a loss where we're just like, how did you lose? Or unless you're Michigan, you were expected to lose to Texas, and I mean, they did. But other than Texas right now, and USC and Ohio State, and I mean, USC had a close game with LSU week 1, but you don't have many of these top teams, throughout the top 25 blowing out every week, It's close games, and it's kind of shocking.
Yeah, Georgia did not look good in this game, man. And you expected Georgia to blow out Kentucky, but man,
you won by 1.
That was embarrassing. Number 23, Nebraska. It's just so weird saying Nebraska with a number before it. Really fucking weird. But they hosted Northern Iowa. They win 34-3. Dylan Raiola keeps proving that he might be worth the hype. 17 for 23, 247 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw a pick, but yeah, no, he's proven that he might be legit. I still don't think he's the best quarterback in the Big Ten. He's definitely top 5 though.
Yeah, you said it. Dylan Raiola just might be legit under center there for Nebraska, and I mean, granted, they have a test coming up, but against Illinois, and Illinois, another shockingly ranked team in my eyes. So we're gonna see who's gonna win. And when we played the schedule game earlier, we were like, okay, this schedule might be pretty easy for Nebraska. Now all of a sudden, within the first 5 games, they have a ranked team on their schedule now. So we'll just see how they play. But 3-0, great start for Nebraska, and it's been a while since Nebraska's been good, and it's good to see them ranked again.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since we've seen Nebraska be ranked, and it's nice to see. It's just weird to say it, because it's just been a meme of the Big Ten for the longest time. But yeah, when we played the schedule game with them, we're talking they could go 2-10 this year, and Illinois was one of those teams where it's like it could go either way for them. So, yeah, we'll see, but we'll preview that on Thursday's episode. Number 7 Tennessee beat Kent State 71-0. Look, Kent State and Ball State, they're basically the same team. They both suck. They both play in the MAC. No one cares about them because they are in the MAC. Yeah, it just Tennessee good, Kent State bad. That's all I can say about this game, man.
Yeah, I hate to inform both of those colleges, but Ball and Kent are not states. Yeah, Tennessee good, Kent State bad. And as, someone who went to EMU, I don't like either of them, so it makes it even better to see both of them get shut out and blown out like that.
Yeah, yeah, just, yeah. I got nothing for that. They're just, yeah. And then lastly here, on Friday, we had Kansas State number 14 hosting number 20 Arizona. Kansas State getting a win here, 31-7. I was impressed with the way Kansas State's defense performed against this Arizona offense that was, quite frankly, pretty damn good coming into the season. I'm not surprised about Arizona's lack of defensive play in this one. But yeah, overall it was just a good game from Kansas State. And yeah, I'm just genuinely shocked at Arizona's performance offensively, but I think I'm more surprised just with the way Kansas State was able to handle Arizona's offense, which is really good. And it's not like Fafita had a terrible game. I mean, he went 26 for 42, 268 yards. He did throw a pick, and he had a good game. I wouldn't say a great game, but I wouldn't say an okay game either. I mean, but yeah, I mean, Kansas State just did a really, really good job of containing Arizona's offense, and yeah, a great resume-building game for Kansas State.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. After the first 2 weeks with Kansas State, the second week against Tulane, because UT Martin, they blew out 41-6, but it was rough against Tulane. They won that one by only 7. So to come against Arizona, it's at home, so they have that home field advantage. But to win this game by 24 points, and to only hold that Arizona offense, that's a pretty damn good offense to 7 points, and they scored those 7 points in the first quarter. Just a hell of a performance by Kansas State.
Yeah, that was a great performance defensively, and then offensively too. They look good. I mean, Arizona's offense is not offense, but their defense isn't that good, and yeah, it's a good overall win for Kansas State. Good feel-good win, good resume-building win, and yeah, that's all you can really say about that. So, yeah, so that's gonna do it for us, guys. Longer episode than kind of intended, but it is what it is. Yeah, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of. Thursday, going to be obviously previewing the whole weekend as usual. And if anything else comes up in sports that's big enough to talk that isn't football related, we'll definitely talk about it. But yeah, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at the Andrew and Ian Show. Or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. But yeah, follow us there. Check out our YouTube page, of course. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for listening. And we will see you guys on Thursday.